It's week 15 in the NBA. Let's preview the week. Let's look at how we can take advantage of it for fantasy basketball. And let's listen to the sultry, soft, and smooth tones of Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I've got sweat running all over my chest. I don't quit, no. I just press harder than I ever did before. I'm going for the dreams that I have in store. And I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you get $200 bucks. That's ducks is a mix between dollars and bucks, I'm sure you're aware. Bonus bets, $200. Bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and you will find the best NBA newsletter for your favorite team. All of the info gathered from podcasts and articles about your favorite team right over there. We've got a live trade deadline show Thursday, February the 6th. It runs at, sometime 1 p.m. Eastern. We're about a bit under 2 weeks away from the NBA trade deadline, but we're here to look at week 15. It is today World Leprosy Day. So, awareness for leprosy. Is that how much leprosy is still in the world? I know there is still a bit, but we've got to still be aware of it, obviously, because there's a day for it. There you go. Shout out to leprosy and shout out to modern medicine curing leprosy in so many ways. What am I talking about? I don't think I'll ever know. But what I do know is that we're here to look at week 15, which is matchup 14 in Yahoo and in Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl leagues because of the in-season tournament weeks, and then we're going to get even more complicated later on when the All-Star week break turns up. But it's the 15th week of the NBA season, as we are all well aware, I'm sure. And let's take a look at how this actual schedule plays out. It is, again, we've had this for the last 3 to 4 weeks probably where we haven't had really any sort of concerns with streaming. It's been easy to do that every single day. And now, recently, with 14 games on Saturday, which we're in the middle of as I record this, we've had a couple of busier days where we've got to be more cautious. But then towards the end of the week, that eases off. Because Monday, we've got 12 games. All right, that's a hard stream day. You probably can't do that. Tuesday, we've got 4, easy stream. Wednesday, 11, pretty tough to do. And then the rest of the week, smooth sailing. Thursday, 5, Friday, 7, Saturday, 9, Sunday, 5. It is a little weird of a week. All right, we've got a decent volume of games, but we don't have these sort of weird situations. We don't have as many 3-game in 4-night runs or 4-game in 6-night runs or weird 3-day breaks. Everything just feels relatively evenly spaced. And there's not as many back-to-backs this week. It's a pretty weird week in terms of that sort of stuff and maximizing our values in fantasy basketball. We have 18 teams playing 4 games this week. So the majority of teams play 4 games. Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Houston, the Clippers and the Lakers, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Toronto, Utah, and Washington. It is worth reminding you guys that the Lakers, the Spurs, the Pelicans, and the Bucks still have 1 game in hand that has not been rescheduled yet. I don't think that it'll get rescheduled into week 15, but we just don't know yet. And that game could appear at any point in the fantasy playoffs. And as you saw with the previous reschedulings, just because those 4 teams have a game to be added into the schedule, that doesn't mean that other teams are not immune to things changing, because in order to make schedules work so teams aren't playing back-to-back-to-backs, they move a bunch of other games around sometimes. So just be aware of that. You've got 2 games, so 4 teams who have only got 81 games scheduled at the moment. So 2 games need to be rescheduled, but there could be other changes. So if you're making moves based on playoff scheduling alone, don't. Because you don't know what will happen. The 4-game week can easily become a 3-game week. A 3-game week could become a 4-game week. A 4 could become a 5. We've already seen the Wizards' 5-game week turn into a 4. Right? Things can change. And we've still got 2 of these to be added, and then others that might need to be adjusted. sorry, I said 18 teams. I don't even know if I went through the whole list. Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Houston, the Clippers, the Lakers, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Toronto, Utah, and Washington. There are 10 teams playing 3. Brooklyn, Golden State, Memphis, Miami, New Orleans. New York, Orlando, Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio have 3 games this week. And then there are 2 teams that played 2 games. And for the second consecutive week, one of them is the Pacers. A horrendous run of scheduling where they've had 4 games across 14 nights. What that does mean, though, of course, is it's going to get busy for them. So it's the Pacers and the Thunder who have 2 games during this week. Let's take a look now at how we can approach the quality games for the week. How does that, what are the, we already know what the streaming days are. I've told you what those streaming days are, but it's Tuesday, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Monday, 12 games, hard to do. Wednesday, 11 games, hard to do. But the final 4 days of the week, streaming. And then Tuesday in the middle to begin the week, streaming. There are 7 teams that play 3 quality games. There is no team that plays all of their games on the low volume days. But 7 teams play 3. Atlanta, Houston, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Sixers, the Jazz, and the Blazers. And one of those teams stands out, and that's Portland, because they only have 3 games this week. It's another one of those instances of, yes, the volume of games matter, but it is not the entire story. So a 3-game week for the Blazers, amongst the other 9 teams that play 3 games, the Blazers are the pick of the bunch. And they're better than a bunch of teams that play 4 games, because, well, not better, they're equivalent to a bunch of teams that play 4 games, because you having those games on the correct days when you're deciding who to add off the waiver wire, it's important. But there's a bunch of these teams that play 4 games that only played 2 quality games. So Minnesota, Toronto, Dallas, the Clippers, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Cavs, Pistons, Bulls, Hornets, Suns, Wizards, all of those teams are 4-game teams, but played 2 quality games. Whereas you can get a Blazers player who plays 3 games only, but you can actually use them more. Tamani Kamara, holding Scoot Henderson, Donovan Clingan, Dini Avdia in a shallow league, Jeremy Grant. Like, the value of those players in this week is more than players, fringe guys from a 4-game team. Mike Conley, for example, on the Wolves. You might use him twice, even though he's starting in place of DiVincenzo. You've decided that Bruce Brown or Kelly Olynyk's your option in Toronto. Don't know why you would, but maybe you have. But you only play them twice this week. So that's important. And then there are 7 teams who play 1 quality game. The 2 2-game teams, Indiana and OKC, they've only got 2 games and one of them's on a high volume day, which is annoying. They both play on Wednesday. All right, so you only get 1 streamable day out of those players. So your Kaysen Wallace's, Ben Mathurin's, Andy Nemhard's, TJ McConnell's, Obert Toppin, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, whoever. You might use them once this week. But Brooklyn, Miami, the Pelicans, the Knicks, the Kings, all of those teams are 3-game teams that play Monday, Wednesday, and then 1 other game for the week. Meaning that also, like, so they've got those 2 high-volume days to start the week. So if you've got one of those guys, you're not going to be able to stream those teams until Thursday at the earliest. But then for the final 4 days of the week, they play 1 game, those teams. So again, it's about, is volume important? Sure. But it's about maximizing volume overall in your team, because it is, again, it's a very common thought, I think, when we're playing fantasy, and the thought you should have is that there are so many players whose value is interchangeable. The 120th player, the 130th player, the 110th player, the 150th player. The differences between these guys is not that big. So if you can use one of them 4 times or 3 times during the week versus using them once, well, the 150th best guy is so much better than the 120th best player in that scenario, because you just get to use them 3 times versus once. And then being obsessed with a ranking number. And people, people always find something to pick on with anything that I say and do, and that's okay. That's the nature of how we do this thing. But they'll go, well, Josh, you say that we shouldn't talk about rankings and we should ignore them, and we obsess about them, but you talk about it all the time. That's not what I say. What I say is that the straight 9-count rankings are completely misleading, and you should not use them to base your valuations of players. But also important that those numbers of 120 and 125 does not mean that is that much different. It's all about using context with these things. and having the correct idea of how to use the numbers when they make sense. And our understanding that the gap, 60 to 100 is not that big of a difference. 100 to 170 is not that big of a difference. And having the idea to mix and match and use them at the right time and let go of someone at this point, even though they're 120th and you've only added 150th best guy, but you've got 3 times the amount of games this week, that's great. Then you move him on and you get the next guy who's got 3 times the amount of games, and the next guy, and then you just bulk up those numbers that way. So I think it's important to understand that ordinality is not a thing that matters here. The difference between 120 and 125 is not the same as the difference between 5 and 10 or the difference between 30 and 35. And there's a lot of interchangeability and variation and single game variation and all that sort of stuff, which is all the thing that I've been trying to impart in all of my analysis over the last probably 3 years. We've really been focusing on that stuff. And I hope that does come across as making sense. I think it does. We'll come back and we'll talk more about streaming in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, and it is the Super Bowl time, and Super Bowl 59 is here. Well, by the time we're recording this, it's almost here. And I don't know the participants just yet. Well, I know some of them. I know that it's going to be one of these 4 teams, but that's okay. But there are 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl with endless possibilities. And there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. You can predict the first touchdown. You can make a bet on the MVP. You can bet the coin toss. FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. Live betting all game long. Adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature enables you to stay involved all the way through the game. Plus your $5 bet, the first one, you can get $200 in bonus bets if you win that on the Super Bowl. That is icing on the cake. So download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's get to the stream zone. Now, you all know what the stream zone is. In this particular context, it's about how can we maximize our values in a head-to-head league, whether it's categories or points, with a standard sort of 10 starter, 3/4 bench guys, with about 4 ads for the week. Maximization of games played is something that I don't love, that is part of the fantasy basketball strategy, but it's there, and with the way the rules are set up, it's what gives you victories. So we have to pay attention to it. And until that default idea changes, which would probably happen in 50 years' time after I bang on about it, even until I'm dead, well, then, yeah, that is how we're going to have to do it. Let's talk about streaming for this week, because, again, I think it is easy to talk about, well, just grab guys that play more games, and that's true, sort of. There are 2 ways to do this. We can use 1 streaming spot. You can use 2. We're basing it on a 4-move week here. You can turn one of your roster spots into 5 games. Easy, there are 5 streaming days. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can turn one roster spot into 5 games. You get the Tuesday, Thursday, pseudo back-to-back, and we'll talk about those teams later on. But you get someone who plays Tuesday, Thursday. You flip that guy into someone who plays the Friday, Saturday back-to-back. And then you open up and get whoever you want on Sunday. Easy to do. As I feel like I've missed a slide. Did I miss a slide? I feel like I did. No, I didn't, actually. I've lost my mind. No. So, yeah, then into Sunday. But what you can do with that, right? So that's 3 moves. It's Tuesday, Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, back-to-back, then Sunday. That's 3 moves. You've got 1 left over, which you can do for whatever. Stashing, whatever you want to do. But that, you can turn one quality game into 5. You can turn one quality game if in that roster spot. There are plenty of teams who play one quality game only for the week. Like we've talked about already, there are 7 teams that play one quality game for the week. You can turn that team into 5 quality games. A player from that team. That's obviously plus 4. That is 4 extra games that you would get. So if you're holding somebody who plays in one of those one quality game teams, which are the Knicks, the Kings, the Pelicans, Nets, Heat, Pacers, Thunder. You can turn one of those teams, one of those players, into 5 extra games. There is an idea what you could do as well, is you could have, if you've got one of those one quality game teams that play their one quality game on Tuesday, which there are Which one of those teams plays one on the Tuesday? Oh, no, there's none of them. Actually, my bad. So none of those teams. So they all play their one quality game in the final 4 days of the week. But if you've got one of those players on your team from one of those 7 teams, you can flip them through shrewd moves and turn it into 5 games, which is extra 4 games, which of course can be useful. Very useful, in fact. Especially if you're at a deficit due to the other team having more games and you've got players injured. The other way you can do it is if you want to use 2 streaming roster spots. You could do it a little bit differently. You can turn 2 streaming spots, so 2 players who are one of those 1 quality game teams, and you can turn it into 8 quality games. So per streaming spot, it's less because we've turned 1 into 5, which is a +4, but we turn 2 into 8, which is a +6, which is 3 per spot. So it's not as many per spot. It's not as efficient. But there's no way for us to use that 1 roster spot at the beginning. The 1 roster spot one was 1 into 5. There's no way we can use that 1 game or that 1 slot to use our 4 moves because there's no Saturday, Sunday back-to-back here. We can only do Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We can't do any more than that. We can't do anything extra to get those games in. We've got 5 games. We've maxed that out. But so it doesn't matter that our efficiency is less by turning each of those 2 1 quality game roster slots into 8. So it's +3 per slot, not as good, but it's +6 overall. So 2 into 8. And if you've got the ability to stream those 2 slots, you're getting either 4 games more or you're getting 6 games more. And you know what you would rather? Yeah, the answer is 6. So how do you do it? Well, it starts off basically the same. It's the same. It's Tuesday, Thursday, back-to-back. You use one of those roster spots, or both those roster spots, and you get a Tuesday, Thursday back-to-back team. And it's not a real back-to-back, obviously, because in the middle there's 11 games on Wednesday. We ignore that. We're going to have a full roster anyway. So we get a Tuesday, Thursday. And then, with those 2 roster spots, we can drop those players if we want. What we look for is a team, any team, that plays 2 games between Friday and Sunday. And there are a lot of those teams that play 2 games between Friday and Sunday. We've got about 12 teams that play 2 games between Friday and Sunday. It doesn't matter if it's a Friday-Saturday combination. It doesn't matter if it's a Friday-Sunday combination. There's no Saturday-Sunday back-to-back though. But what you've got to do, you've got to have someone who plays Friday, and then it's either a Friday-Saturday or a Friday-Sunday. And that gives you those 2 extra games. And that's 4 moves, 2 roster slots, 8 quality games. Which, if you had the right players on your team, would have only been 2 quality games otherwise. So that's a big difference. It's a big difference. So these teams, I am harping on this a bit, and I'll get off it in a second. But like, for example, you've got a Miami Heat player, Jaime Jaquez Jr., perhaps. Maybe you've got Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, even little Chungus Nikolajovic. Maybe you've got Keon Ellis. Maybe you've got one of the Nets' cornucopia of Turburgers, Keon Johnson, or even Noah Clowney. One of those guys. They play 1 quality game for the week. You've got 2 of those guys sitting on your bench, right? You've got a Keon Ellis. You've got Yves Missi for the Pelicans. You drop those guys, and you could turn them into 8 games during the week. And that's a big difference. It's a big difference. Let's say your team plays 45 games for the week overall. You add 6 onto that. It's like 14% extra, 12% extra, something like that. Big difference. Very, very, very big difference. Let's get into more of the vagaries across the week now. Week 15, of course, that is where we are. There are 3 teams whose first game does not happen until Wednesday, which is an 11-game day in the NBA. And the 2 of them, San Antonio and Indiana, are the teams that are over in Paris at the moment. That makes sense. They don't play until Wednesday. And the other one is the 2-game team, the Thunder. So pretty obvious stuff. Those teams don't play until Wednesday. You miss out on that Tuesday opportunity. There are certain situations during this week where teams play 1 game in 5 nights. And again, it's a lot of those 2-game / Paris teams. Between Sunday and Thursday, the Pacers and the Spurs play 1 game. 1 game, 5 nights. Between Monday and Friday, the Pacers and the Thunder play 1 game in 5 nights. And that's all those teams we just mentioned. But then towards the end of the week, between Tuesday and Saturday, the Memphis Grizzlies play one game in 5 nights. One game in 5 nights for the Grizzlies. The difference for them is that they end up having a game on Sunday as well. But they play Monday, the Grizzlies, and then they play again Thursday, and then they play again Sunday. That's a very weird schedule. Monday, Thursday, Sunday. So Santi Aldama, Zach Edey, Luke Kennard, maybe for some reason you're enamored with Gigi Jackson, whatever it is. But one game in 5 nights between Tuesday and Saturday, that's going to be something that clouds your roster a little bit. But again, with this team, they still have 2 quality games. So would dropping them make sense when you can still get them on Thursday and Sunday? Well, not as much as dropping a 1 quality game team. They're just things to know. And I feel like for about the 7th time this season, it's not, but it does feel like it. How many times this season have we had either the Pelicans, the Jazz, or the Warriors playing either the full back-to-back on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, or not playing the weekend at all? I feel like it happens every week. And this week, it's the Warriors and the Pelicans who don't play on Saturday or Sunday. And you can't drop a fringe Warrior or a fringe Pelican after their Friday game and get 2 games in through a back-to-back on Saturday, Sunday, because there is no back-to-back on the weekend. So it's good to know. It's just we can't fully take advantage of it. If we look at the 3-game in 4 nights run of games, again, there are fewer of these this week than we have in other weeks. Between Monday, there's nothing between Sunday to Wednesday. No 3-game in 4 between Sunday and Wednesday. Monday to Thursday, it's because Sunday's got 1 game. Monday to Thursday, Atlanta, Cleveland, Houston, the Lakers, Minnesota, Utah, and Washington. Between Tuesday to Friday, it's Golden State and Philadelphia. Between Wednesday to Saturday, Charlotte, Denver, Minnesota, Phoenix, San Antonio, and Washington. And you'll note that Wednesday is the 11-game day, and then Thursday onwards, we don't have any of those high-volume days. But there is not a single team that plays 3 games in 4 nights between Thursday and Sunday. So that would have been a great opportunity to take advantage of a team there who had 3 games, 4 nights, all streamable days, but they don't exist. It's only teams playing 2 or 1 to end the week. So that advantage, which theoretically could be there, is not there. 4 games in 6 nights between Monday and Saturday. So there are a bunch of 4-game teams whose week ends on Saturday, meaning you can get their 4 games in, you can drop them and get someone in on Sunday if you want. But there's a lot of them. Atlanta, Charlotte, Denver, Houston, the Lakers, Minnesota, Phoenix, Utah, and Washington. And then between Tuesday and Sunday, Philadelphia is a 4-game team, but their week doesn't start until Tuesday. That is unique. So you don't have that Monday big 12-game day. Then they start on Tuesday, but they do start the week with a Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. And it's Philadelphia, so who knows what happens. But that is a pretty interesting little wrinkle for that team. There are a bunch of teams that have 5 games in 8 nights. And that is, always important for resting purposes, for additional load onto teams. It is important to note who they are. Between Monday, starting week 15, and Monday of week 16, Atlanta, Charlotte, Denver, Detroit, Houston, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Phoenix, Utah, and Washington have 5 games in 8 nights. Let's talk back-to-backs now. We've got Sunday to Monday, none, because, again, Sunday is 1 game. And that also brings me to a point. I'm not doing a Sunday preview show to preview who to stream with 1 game on. It's the Thunder. It's the Blazers. That is who plays. There is no real choices. Just find someone who's going to get minutes and who's going to play. That's really all it is. It's not the options are not there. So Monday to Tuesday, Monday a 12-game day. Atlanta, Houston, the Lakers, Milwaukee, and Utah. 12 games Monday, 4 on Tuesday. So it's great that there's a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. You probably don't stream on Monday. But again, look at your own team. Do you have a full roster on Monday? I had someone leave a comment on one of my videos, said for Saturday, which is 14 games, and I said, no one's going to be able to stream. He said, actually, I can stream. I've got an open roster spot and injured players and an active thing. So that's I can't talk about that for everybody, but someone did have that. Now, that is going to be 0.05% of people, but it's there. Tuesday to Wednesday back-to-back. 4-game Tuesday, 11-game Wednesday. Golden State, Philadelphia. Okay, cool, but Wednesday's an 11-game day. Does the back-to-back make any sense? Not really. But the next one's what you really want to look at, because it's Tuesday with 4 games, it's Thursday with 5 games, and this is the key, the fulcrum, the pivot, not even a pivot point, it is a fulcrum, it is the center, it is the vortex, not the right word. What's the word? Someone will know the word I mean. It's a funny word. It's a good word for the center of something, and I'm going to go find it out because it annoys me when it's sitting on the edge of my brain, and I can't just get it through the mouth. That's what she said. Oh, some good words. The crux. Crux is a good word here. The hub, the hinge of this entire week, the focal point. Some of those words are pretty good. I think some of them work well there. The pivot. The crux is a good one, though. The hub of the week is the Tuesday-Thursday pseudo back-to-back. And there are 5 teams here. Atlanta. Vit Krejci. Hello there. Houston. Dylan Brooks. Yeah, you suck, but here we go. The Lakers. My man, your man, fantasy legend, Rui Hachimura actually has use. Rui. Max Christie, Dorian Finney-Smith, all going to be, I don't think Jared Vanderbilt-Barr will be worth it, but another name. Portland, we just talked about him. If someone drops Scoot, you just grab him anyway. But Don Klingon, Tamani Kamara. It gets a little iffier after that, but there you go. And then Utah, who knows? But Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, if someone's dropped Keontae George. Who knows about Markkanen? Who knows about Collins? Who knows about Sexton? No idea. Could do anything. But maybe you look at a Svi Mykhailiuk, but maybe he plays 0 minutes. It's a tough one, but there are 5 teams who played Tuesday, Thursday, back-to-back. And I say back-to-back, understanding it's not a back-to-back, but for our purposes, it is. Wednesday to Thursday. Wednesday's 11 games, Thursday's 5. We got Cleveland, Minnesota, Washington, so not as useful for us from streaming purposes. And then the last back-to-back of the week, because there actually is no Thursday, Friday back-to-back, and there is no Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. Again, that is worth noting. No Thursday, Friday, no Saturday, Sunday. The last one is Friday, Saturday, and you can take advantage of this if you're using the one streaming spot stream idea. Charlotte, Denver, Phoenix, San Antonio. Charlotte, Nick Smith, great value. Denver, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Julian Strouder. Phoenix, Ryan Dunn. Mason Plumlee, maybe? Probably not, but Ryan Dunn, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Tyus Jones. And San Antonio, Steph Castle, the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! The horse, Keldon Johnson. Plenty of options on that Friday to Saturday back-to-back. Let's have a look at some injury updates now across the NBA and who is and isn't playing and who we can feel not necessarily comfortable ruling out, but we've got a decent idea they're not going to play during Week 15 across the league. I'm going to start with Chet Holmgren. He's not going to play. I don't expect Kobe White to play. The Bulls will lie about this consistently, and we have a very, very firmly established pattern now with Chicago. Listen to their coaches, listen to the players, ignore their official injury report. It is wrong and it is false every time. Ignore it. They said at least a week for Kobe. I'll push that to 10 days at least. I don't think he's playing. I don't think, and the reports from the Nets on Cam Johnson make me suggest that he won't play. I don't believe Cam Thomas will play either. The Nets aren't going to push these guys. I don't think either Cam plays. Thomas, probably more likely than Johnson, honestly. John Kuminga, don't think he's back. Trey Mann, I'll continue to reiterate, I do not think that Trey Mann is playing again this season, but they have not given us any official information on that. We've got Jabari Smith. We've got Derek Lively, the Big Ragu, Dante DiVincenzo, Jordan Clarkson, Luka Doncic, and Mitchell Robinson. Doncic, it appears, might be back at the beginning of Week 16, but I'm still not holding my breath on that one. And then we've got a bunch, these next 3. This one's not confirmed, but I don't think we see Jalen Johnson this week. The reporting around this is non-existent, but the team is giving us he's out, and now we're doing extra scans and seeing what's happening. So that's not like he'll be fine, it's just day-to-day in soreness. That, to me, again, ties into what I saw happen, how it was responded, how it was reported at the time. It suggests to me multi-week absence for Jalen, but I don't know that. I don't know it. But I believe that is what we'll get at least. So I think Jalen's out at least for this week. And that report of let me just read the exact report that they put out there about that shoulder, what the reporting was on it, so I can give you the accurate information on it when I find it. He's out as he undergoes further medical testing and evaluation. No timetable yet, and his status will be updated as appropriate. Yeah, he's not playing. All right, so we got that one. Brandon Ingram, I honestly have no idea what's going on with him. There has been zero reporting on this whatsoever. The only thing I heard in passing was maybe he's back the week before the trade deadline, so that maybe that's the end of week 15, but I don't really think so. And then I don't believe Herb Jones plays this season. But again, they have not given us actual reporting to suggest that. Just a discussion on the injury without any timetable to return. Then we've got a bunch of guys that we just don't know whether they're going to play or not. Marcus Smart should be looking to return this week, I guess. I put Malcolm Brogdon on there. I actually don't think... I probably should have put him on the other list. I don't think he's playing for the Wizards again. But I don't know that. Zach Ricochet with his groin issue, he should be back at some point this week, which obviously he'd get some minutes there with Johnson being out. Draymond Green, initially I thought 3 to 4 weeks for his calf. They gave it a week. Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, but that would mean this is about a 10-day absence in here. Isaiah Hartenstein, they just gave us a week on an initial calf strain, which again is a very short amount of time. So we'll see exactly what we do in terms of how long he's going to be out for. The thing that's interesting about the NBA and injuries, and if you come from other weekly type sports, because we can sit there and go, well, in other sports, if you can be out for a week with a calf strain or a hamstring strain or whatever. But in the NBA, a week is a week. A week is 7 days. A week in another sport is 14 days. Why? Because I'll just use the AFL as my Australian Football League example, or the NFL, right? Either one of these weekly sports. You get hurt on Saturday. You hurt your calf on Saturday. You limp off. Ooh, hurt my calf. All right, you're done. And they said, well, he's going to miss a week. All right, in the NBA, you miss a week. That means you get hurt Saturday and you come back on Saturday. That's 7 days. So you can come back on the next weekend. In the AFL, the NFL, which are weekly sports, you get hurt on Saturday. That means you miss the next Saturday. You're out 1 week. And then you can play the Saturday after. 14 days away. So it's still the terminology of saying you're missing a week is 100% correct. But with one of them, that's 14 days. In one of them, it's 7. So they come out and say it's a week for Hartenstein and the calf. With most other things, it's a week. Yeah, but it's a 14-day recovery. So I don't know why I even brought that up, but I think it's interesting to note that is that you can hear that he only missed a week in these other sports, but everything gets expanded by an extra week due to the 1 week nature of those games. So anyway, Hartenstein might be back. Goga Bitadze, I think almost certainly is back. He's been upgraded to questionable. With his concussion, he might even play on Saturday. I don't know if he's even been ruled out there, so I'd say that he returns during week 15. And same with teammate Jalen Suggs, who also, I believe, has been upgraded to questionable for the game on Sunday. I'm just going to double check if there's any updates there. Yeah, Jalen Suggs is upgraded to questionable. So Suggs was at shoot-around and Goga Bitadze was not. But I would expect they're both back in week 15. DeAndre Ayton hurt his calf again. It's going to be in and out for him all the way through, I think, until something gets somewhat serious enough that they can say you're done. Because he has been banged up, absolutely. But I think he'll play in week 15 a little bit. Klay Thompson with an ankle problem, he's bad anyway, and he's not a 12-team league guy. He's at least in the stream zone, though. So we'll see whether he returns. Emmanuel Quickly, we just don't have any updates on this. Got no idea whether he's returning from this hip strain issue. I think he can come back here. This is my initial time frame when they announced the hip strain puts him back this week, so we'll see. Joel Embiid, maybe that original 7 to 10 day knee swelling thing should end during week 15. You know me, I'm not going to be expecting him to return or play any level of consecutive games whatsoever. So, but maybe he's back, I don't know. And then Evan Mobley, who could actually just play on Saturday. If not with his calf issue, he is probably back during week 15 without really any question, I would say. If we look at weekly leagues, who can you add? What is a weekly league? It's a league that locks once a week. Who can you add onto your roster who's over 60% available on Yahoo, who you would probably start this week? Jaden McDaniels is playing well. He's playing very well, but most importantly, they play 4 games. And when we talk quality games, and when we talk streaming, and we talk back-to-backs, it doesn't matter in a weekly league. That doesn't matter. If someone's good enough to start, volume is all that matters, or skill matters, but when the games are played, what the volume of games in the day is does not matter. So Jaden McDaniels having 4 puts him in a add and start guy. Lonzo Ball, no back-to-backs for the Bulls, no Kobe White. Lonzo plays 24 minutes as he's reclaimed his starting spot. Cool, let's do it. Spencer Dinwiddie in the Mavs, no Luka Doncic. He might be in and out of the lineup, but I think you get 30 minutes out of him. And again, I've been bad at this and I need to be better. We need to look at things more in terms of minutes. 4 games, 3 games, 2 games, whatever. If Dinwiddie he plays 120 minutes this week, that's really good. It's really good. Bryce Sensabaugh. Again, he might only play 24 minutes a night, but the Jazz have 4 games, and maybe you get 100 minutes out of him. He's a guy that honestly could score a point a minute. He probably won't, but 100 minutes, it's better than a 3-game player playing 30 minutes a night. You could get 100 minutes out of Sensabaugh this week. Vit Krejci, you could get 115 minutes, 110 minutes out of him with Jalen Johnson out. And then Nick Smith Jr. with no Trey Mann, no Brandon Miller, maybe rests for LaMelo Ball. Maybe this man shoots a million shots and doesn't hit any of them, but there is 120 minutes minimum, I would say, for Nick Smith over the course of this week. And the last thing we look at with the weekly leagues is the 2 teams that play 2 games. Who do you start out of this week? Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers, and honestly, that's iffy. With how he's playing, it's a little iffy to rely upon Halliburton for 2. I wouldn't start Turner. I wouldn't start Siakam. I wouldn't consider anybody else even remotely close to that. The easy one is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Easy start, not a debate. I probably would start Jalen Williams, even though he's had a down month or so. Last game was pretty good, but I would start him. The question there is, if Isaiah Hartenstein gets cleared for action, would you start him with 2 games on? I don't think I would. I think I would keep it at Shai and Jalen, and that's it. So Jalen, Shai, and Halliburton are your 2-game starts, and Halliburton, to me, is probably the lowest of those 3. Him and Jalen are close, but Shai, obvious, easy start. And that's a Week 15 preview. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it made sense to you. I hope I didn't talk too much nonsense. I've got to talk a little bit of nonsense, but I hope it made sense in terms of prioritizing your week and figuring out exactly how you're going to approach it from a fantasy perspective. But how do you also approach your week from a life perspective? What are you going to do this week? What's your goal? What are you going to do? What am I going to do this week? I've been slacking on cooking. I used to cook a lot, right? And I've just been so tired and just exhausted that I've just been I'm not even feeling hungry. And I just haven't cooked enough home-cooked meals. I need to get back into that. It's also my birthday this week, so I'm going to do my best to ignore it as best as possible. That's one of my goals. Guys, stay good. Stay happy. Stay positive. Stay learning. Stay evaluating. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Too legit.